very far. You didn't dig school, I know that.
Oh, I liked it all right, but I had to get out and earn a little bread. I had to get out and earn a living. Oh, what do I remember most about my childhood? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, if you want to know.
That's great.
From Bullitt to The Great Escape, Steve McQueen's charisma and talent captivated audiences. However, there were murmurs, rumors, and secrets that were awaiting to be revealed behind the scenes. So, what was the genuine narrative behind the man, the myth, and the legend? Steve McQueen's son has recently disclosed the truth about his father. This video is intended for individuals who are also inquisitive. Steve McQueen, also known as Terrence Stephen McQueen, experienced a turbulent childhood that was characterized by adversity and obstacles. McQueen was educated in the Roman Catholic faith and hailed from a Scottish family. Steve McQueen's parents were never married, and his father, William McQueen, was a stunt pilot for a barnstorming aerial circus. Tragically, this was the case. Nevertheless, William and Julia Ann parted ways 6 months after their initial encounter. Steve's existence was significantly altered by this early abandonment. Several biographers have noted that Julia Ann Crawford's alcoholism impeded her ability to provide for her small child. Consequently, in 1933, at the tender age of 3, she made the difficult decision to entrust Steve to her own parents, Victor and Lillian Crawford, in Slater, Missouri. At the time of this decision, the Great Depression was having a significant impact on the financial well-being of numerous households in the United States. Steve McQueen's family circumstances were unstable during his early childhood. In Slater, he and his grandparents relocated to the property of Lillian's brother, Claude, and his family. McQueen frequently expressed his affection for his time on the farm. Despite the difficult circumstances, he held his great-uncle, Claude, in high regard, characterizing him as a man of strength, fairness, and kindness. It was on this farm that the young Steve McQueen began to acquire critical life lessons that would significantly influence his future. On his 4th birthday, his great-uncle Claude presented him with a red tricycle as a gift. Little did they realize that this apparently unremarkable gift would serve as the catalyst for Steve's lifelong enthusiasm for automobile racing, which would ultimately pave the way for his subsequent accomplishments. McQueen's familial circumstances underwent some modifications as he matured. Eventually, his mother married and decided to bring Steve back from the farm to live with her and her new spouse in Indianapolis when he was 8 years old. This transition was a critical juncture in younger Steve's existence. Steve's great-uncle Claude presented him with a gold pocket watch and a poignant inscription inside the case prior to his departure from the farm. Steve, who has been a son to me, was the recipient of the inscription. The strong connection that had developed between Steve and his great-uncle, Claude, during his time on the farm was underscored by this heartfelt gesture. Nevertheless, Steve McQueen's obstacles were far from resolved. His dyslexia and partial deafness, which were the result of a childhood ear infection, presented him with substantial academic challenges. He found it challenging to acclimate to his new life in Indianapolis due to his learning and hearing impairments. Tragically, Steve's stepfather subjected him to physical violence, which had a lasting effect on the young boy. Stevie, at the age of 9, was compelled to flee the abusive environment in her home and sought refuge on the streets. His self-esteem was significantly impacted by his upbringing and the lack of affection and support from his parents. He once disclosed that when a child is not shown affection during their childhood, they begin to question their worthiness. I was not loved by my mother, and I did not have a father. I reasoned that I must not be particularly proficient. Steve's experience on the streets resulted in his involvement with a street gang and his participation in petty crime. The fact that he was spiraling out of control became increasingly apparent, and his mother was left with a difficult decision. She acknowledged that she was unable to control his conduct and subsequently chose to return him to her grandparents and great-uncle in Slater, Missouri. Julia, his mother, contacted her uncle Claude once more at the age of 12 to request that her son be returned to her in Los Angeles, California, where she now lived with her second spouse. This relocation represented yet another substantial change in McQueen's existence. Nevertheless, McQueen's relationship with his new stepfather was anything but harmonious. From the outset, He and his stepfather were at odds. According to McQueen, his stepfather was a prime son of a bitch who had no reservations about resorting to physical violence against both McQueen and his mother. The young child was subjected to a hostile and abusive environment in the household. In response to the challenging circumstances at home, McQueen was once again sent back to live with his great-uncle Claude, as his rebellious tendencies resurfaced. He was approximately 14 years old at this time and was experiencing difficulty in determining his position in the world. Nevertheless, McQueen's restlessness and aspiration for autonomy motivated him to make a risky decision. He departed the property at the age of 14 without bidding farewell to his great-uncle Claude and briefly joined a circus. This signaled the commencement of a period of wandering and the pursuit of identity and purpose. McQueen eventually returned to Los Angeles, where he reunited with his mother and stepfather. Regrettably, he reverted to his previous behaviors of petty illicit activities and gang membership. He committed larceny, including the theft of hubcap, as a result of his turbulent journey. The police became aware of his criminal activities and apprehended him. Nevertheless, McQueen was transferred to his abusive stepfather, who reacted with excessive brutality rather than confronting the justice system. He was subjected to a severe beating, and his stepfather even hurled him down a flight of stairs. McQueen, in a moment of desperation and defiance, looked up at his stepfather and issued a threatening threat, stating, "You will not touch me again, and I swear I will kill you." The traumatic incident with his abusive stepfather marked the turning point in Steve McQueen's troubled early existence. Julia, McQueen's mother, was persuaded by his stepfather to execute a court order declaring him incorrigible, which resulted in his remand to the California Junior Boys Republic in Chino. The onset of McQueen's transformation and maturation was marked by this critical juncture in his life. McQueen initially encountered difficulty in assimilating and gaining acceptance from his peers upon his arrival at the Boys Republic. He was required to demonstrate his abilities to both the staff and the other students, as the environment was difficult. The lads shared a sense of camaraderie, but they also adhered to a strict code of conduct. For example, the boys were granted a monthly opportunity to attend a movie in town as a token of appreciation for their excellent behavior. Nevertheless, the outing would be impacted if a single boy neglected to complete his allotted tasks or disrupted the peace in their living quarters, which were referred to as a bungalow. McQueen elucidated this dynamic by stating that the boys had the opportunity to attend a movie in town once a month, but they were unable to do so because one individual in the cottage failed to complete his work correctly. It is reasonable to anticipate that they will have an opinion on the matter. McQueen encountered numerous obstacles during her tenure at the Boys Republic. He recognized that his actions had to be met with consequences and that he had to endure a reasonable amount of hardship. He mentioned that I had paid my dues with the other members on numerous occasions. There is no question that I received my tumors. The other lads in the bungalow had their own methods of ensuring that everyone contributed to the group's well-being and enforced discipline. After his transformative experience at the California Junior Boys Republic, Steve McQueen progressively established himself as a role model within the institution. He was elected to the Boys' Council as a result of his demonstrated leadership and responsibility. The boys residing at the facility were subject to the norms and regulations established by this council, which was a select group. McQueen's involvement in this organization demonstrated his dedication to serving as a positive role model for his peers and his maturing maturity. Steve McQueen departed the Boys' Republic at the age of 16, prepared to confront the world beyond its confines. He resolved to reconcile with his mother, who had relocated to Greenwich Village in New York City. Nevertheless, his life was once again thrown for a loop when he confronted two sailors from the Merchant Marine. McQueen's impetuous decision to board a vessel destined for the Dominican Republic was motivated by her fascination with the idea of a life at sea and thrilling adventures. Upon his arrival in the Dominican Republic, McQueen shortly discovered that the life aboard the ship was not as opulent as he had anticipated. He soon became disillusioned with his new position and elected to abdicate his responsibilities. He was ultimately employed at a brothel, which resulted in yet another tumultuous period in his life. Steve McQueen continued to wander from location to location in pursuit of his identity in the world following his time in the Dominican Republic. His voyage led him to Texas, where he pursued a variety of unconventional employment opportunities in order to sustain himself. These occupations encompassed a variety of positions, including selling pens at a traveling carnival and working as a lumberjack in Canada. Nevertheless, McQueen's unstable lifestyle ultimately resulted in his arrest for vagrancy in the Deep South. He was sentenced to serve a 30-day assignment on a chain gang as a consequence of his detention. Undoubtedly, this experience was a low point in McQueen's life. However, it also served as a stark reminder of the challenges he still needed to surmount and the hardships he had incurred. At the age of 17, Steve McQueen sought a new direction and opted to enlist in the United States Marine Corps in 1947. Nevertheless, he was unable to do so without the consent of his mother, as he was not yet 18 years old. He began a voyage that would introduce him to the rigorous discipline and structure of military life with her consent. McQueen's military career commenced in Paris, Iceland, and South Carolina, where he endured the arduous boot camp experience. He was compelled to press himself to the brink of his physical and mental capabilities during this rigorous training period. As drill instructors shaped him into a Marine, he was promptly promoted to the rank of Private First Class and allocated to an armored unit as a result of his dedication to the Corps. McQueen initially encountered difficulty in adjusting to the rigorous discipline and regulations of military service, despite his potential. The regimented environment of the Marines was in direct opposition to his free-spirited and independent nature. Consequently, McQueen was demoted to the rank of private on 7 separate occasions due to a succession of disciplinary issues. An unauthorized absence was one of the most significant incidents that occurred during his tenure in the Marine Corps. McQueen neglected to return after his weekend pass had expired, and he spent 2 weeks with his fiancée, Barbara Ross, during this time. The Shore Patrol ultimately apprehended him, as his absence was not unnoticed. Nevertheless, McQueen's opposition to arrest resulted in even more severe repercussions. He was subsequently sentenced to 41 days on the bridge, a military prison, following his detention. This experience served as a wake-up call for McQueen, who came to comprehend the significance of discipline and compliance with the rules and regulations of military service. Steve McQueen made a deliberate decision to redirect his energies toward self-improvement after his tumultuous start in the Marine Corps. He wholeheartedly embraced the discipline that the Marines ingrained in him. This attitude change was a pivotal moment in his military career. McQueen's newfound commitment and fortitude were demonstrated in a remarkable incident during his time in the Marines. He was instrumental in the rescue of 5 of his fellow Marines during an Arctic exercise. This exercise entailed a precarious situation in which a tank was at risk of rupturing through the ice and falling into the frigid sea. McQueen's quick thinking and courage enabled him to extract his companions from the tank in the nick of time. This heroic act served as a testament to his unwavering commitment to his fellow Marines and underscored the extraordinary personal development he had experienced since his initial challenges in the military. McQueen's commitment and discipline in the Marine Corps were not overlooked. He was designated to the Honor Guard, which was responsible for the protection of the presidential yacht of the United States. Harry S. Truman was the president. The level of trust and respect he had garnered within the military ranks was underscored by this prestigious assignment. Steve McQueen's military service in the Marine Corps persisted until 1950 when he was honorably discharged. McQueen subsequently expressed that he had genuinely enjoyed his experience as a Marine when reflecting on his time in the military. He acknowledged the profound influence it had on his character development and life. He cherished this period as a formative experience, stating, "The Marines made a man out of me. I acquired the ability to establish rapport with others and was provided with a foundation from which to launch myself." Steve McQueen's personal life was characterized by significant relationships, such as his marriages and family dynamics. McQueen was in a relationship with actress Gia Scala while he was simultaneously attending Stella Adler's school in New York and pursuing his acting career. Their relationship was a significant aspect of his life during a critical period in his career development, as he refined his acting abilities in New York City. Steve McQueen wed Filipino actress and performer Neil Adams on November 2, 1956. Terry Leslie was born on June 5, 1959, as a consequence of their union. Terry Leslie passed away on March 19, 1998, in a tragic manner. On December 28, 1960, their second child, a male named Chad, was born. McQueen and Adams established a family, and for a period, they appeared to be a content couple. Nevertheless, the couple faced numerous challenges during their marriage, and they ultimately divorced in 1972. Later, Neil Adams disclosed in her autobiography, "My husband, my friend," that their marriage had reached a critical juncture, and she had an abortion in 1971, when their relationship was already in a precarious state. The challenges and complexities of their marriage were illuminated by this revelation. Steve McQueen's legacy endured through his family, despite the ups and downs of his personal life. Stephen R. McQueen, an actor, is one of McQueen's 4 grandchildren. He is recognized for his roles in prominent television series such as The Vampire Diaries, where he played Jeremy Gilbert, and Chicago Fire, where he played Jimmy Borelli. Mamie Van Doren, an actress and sex symbol, was romantically associated with McQueen around 1959. She alleged that she engaged in an affair with him during this time, and they reportedly conducted joint experiments with hallucinogenic substances. McQueen's reputation as a Hollywood darling and a leading man who captivated audiences both on and off the screen was further enhanced by their relationship. McQueen's romantic life remained the subject of speculation and fascination in the early 1960s. Lauren Hutton, an actress and model, disclosed that she, too, engaged in an affair with McQueen during this time. McQueen's reputation as a flamboyant and desirable figure in Hollywood was further solidified by these relationships with high-profile women in the entertainment industry. While estranged from his wife Nyla Adams in the early 1970s, McQueen developed an affair with Barbara Lee, his co-star in the film Junior Bonner. Lee ultimately became pregnant as a result of this relationship, and she underwent an abortion. The complexities of McQueen's personal relationships during that era were reflected in this episode, which was a challenging and emotionally fraught period in his life. Steve McQueen married Allie McGraw, an actress who was his co-star in the film The Getaway. In 1973 in Cheyenne, Wyoming, their marriage was not without its challenges, despite the public attention and media scrutiny that accompanied their union. Tragically, McGraw experienced a miscarriage during their marriage, which was undoubtedly a traumatic experience for both of them. McQueen's true love, according to certain close friends and insiders, was Allie McGraw. They assert that he was profoundly and passionately in love with her until his death. This assertion underscores the profound influence McGraw had on McQueen, and their relationship continued to be a significant chapter in his romantic history. Steve McQueen served as a pallbearer at the funeral of Bruce Lee, a renowned martial artist and actor. In 1973, McQueen's admiration for Bruce Lee's contributions to martial arts and cinema, and his connections within the entertainment industry were both evident in this significant event. He was a member of a group of pallbearers that included other notable figures, such as James Coburn, Bruce Lee's sibling Robert Lee, Peter Chin, Dan Inosanto, and Taki Kimura. One of the most enduring partnerships in Hollywood that McQueen had was with fellow actor James Garner. Their relationship was fortified by their mutual enthusiasm for racing. As both McQueen and Garner resided in close proximity, their friendship was distinguished by a playful rivalry. McQueen humorously recollected their dynamic, stating, "I could see that Jim was neat around his place, with flowers trimmed, no papers in the yard, and grass always cut. Therefore, in order to irritate him, I would begin to toss empty beer cans down the incline into his driveway. He would leave the house with his drive immaculately clean, only to return home to discover an abundance of empty cans. It took him a considerable amount of time to realize that it was me." Their amusing antics served as a testament to their friendship. Steve McQueen married model Barbara Minty on January 16, 1980, less than a year prior to his untimely demise. This completed the concluding chapter of McQueen's romantic life. Barbara Minty's book, Steve McQueen, The Last Mile, offers a glimpse into McQueen's spiritual journey during his final years. She disclosed that McQueen had adopted evangelical Christianity toward the conclusion of his life, a transformation that was substantial. Sammy Mason, his aviation instructor, Mason's son Pete, and Barbara herself all played a role in this transformation of faith. McQueen's spiritual commitment was further solidified when he was visited by the renowned evangelist Billy Graham shortly before his passing. As a result of his rediscovered faith, he became an active member of his local church, Ventura Missionary Church. In early 1978, Steve McQueen developed a persistent wheeze, a symptom that prompted apprehensions regarding his health. He made the initial significant step toward enhancing his health by quitting smoking, as he acknowledged the potential dangers to his well-being. Nevertheless, his condition did not exhibit any indications of improvement, despite his decision to abstain from smoking and his subsequent antibiotic treatments. McQueen's difficulty of breath became more severe as time progressed, and his general health continued to decline. The underlying cause of his health issues was not ultimately identified until December 22, 1979, after the completion of filming for The Hunter. A biopsy revealed that McQueen was afflicted with pleural mesothelioma, an uncommon and aggressive form of cancer that impacts the lining of the lungs and is frequently associated with asbestos exposure. This diagnosis was catastrophic, as there was no known cure for pleural mesothelioma at the time. McQueen conducted a medical interview shortly after obtaining his diagnosis, during which he candidly disclosed the factors that he believed were responsible for his illness. He ascribed his illness to asbestos exposure, thereby elucidating potential sources of this exposure. Although he acknowledged that asbestos used in movie soundstage insulation and race drivers' protective suits and helmets could have played a role, he believed that his extensive exposure occurred during his tenure in the United States Marine Corps. McQueen identified his military service as the most probable source of his asbestos exposure. He specifically mentioned that during his tenure in the Marines, he was involved in the removal of asbestos-lagging insulation from pipes aboard a troop ship. This disclosure underscored the significance of increasing awareness regarding the dangers of asbestos exposure and emphasized the risks associated with specific military responsibilities. Steve McQueen's health had taken a severe turn by February 1980, when evidence of widespread metastasis was discovered. He initially endeavored to maintain his privacy during this challenging period by keeping the full extent of his condition a closely guarded secret. Nevertheless, on March 11, 1980, the National Enquirer disclosed that he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. McQueen's health struggle was brought to the public's attention by this revelation, which signaled a turning point. McQueen decided to investigate unconventional treatment options in order to extend his life, as he was given a bleak prognosis by U.S. physicians. After being informed that conventional medicine offered no hope, he traveled to Rosarito Beach, Mexico, in July 1980, in pursuit of alternative therapies. McQueen's decision to pursue treatment in Mexico was the subject of controversy. He consulted William Donald Kelly, who advocated for a variant of the Gerson therapy. This alternative approach encompassed unconventional treatments, including coffee enemas, frequent hair washing with specialized shampoos, daily injections of fluids containing live cells from cattle and sheep, massages, and the use of latril, a putative anti-cancer drug obtainable in Mexico. Nevertheless, latril has been recognized for its ineffectiveness in treating cancer and its toxic nature for a long time. McQueen reportedly provided Kelly with financial payments of approximately $40,000 per month during his 3-month stay in Mexico, which is equivalent to approximately $142,000 in 2022. Kelly's medical education was the subject of controversy, as his sole license was in orthodontics, a branch of dentistry. This prompted inquiries regarding the legitimacy of the treatments McQueen was undergoing. The traditional and tabloid press were both captivated by the news of McQueen's treatment and his affiliation with William Donald Kelly. The public's fascination with McQueen's battle against cancer and his unconventional approach to treatment garnered widespread attention and prompted debates about the efficacy and ethics of alternative cancer therapies. Steve McQueen returned to the United States in early October after his sojourn in Mexico, where he sought unconventional treatment. William Donald Kelly publicly declared that McQueen would be cured and able to resume a normal life, despite the extensive metastasis of cancer throughout his body. In spite of this, McQueen's condition rapidly deteriorated and became catastrophic. McQueen's abdomen began to develop massive lesions as his cancer treatment progressed, which served as a stark reminder of the severity of his condition. His precarious health was significantly jeopardized by these malignancies. McQueen's decision to undergo a hazardous and unconventional surgical procedure in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico in late October 1980 was fateful. He intended to have a substantial abdominal tumor, which weighed approximately 5 pounds, surgically removed. Despite the dire warnings of his U.S. physicians, who were of the opinion that the tumor was inoperable and that his heart could not withstand the surgery, this decision was made. McQueen employed the pseudonym Samuel Shepard when enrolling in a modest clinic in Juarez to safeguard his privacy during his medical treatment. The medical personnel at this facility were unaware of his true identity, which enabled him to maintain a low profile as he underwent this critical surgery. Tragically, Steve McQueen's battle with cancer concluded on November 7, 1980. He expired at 3:45 a.m., 12 hours after undergoing surgery to remove or reduce numerous metastatic lesions in his neck and abdomen at a Juarez hospital. The exact cause of death was a heart attack, which was a result of the severe strain that was imposed on his already weakened heart during the operation. At the time of his death, McQueen was 50 years old. The El Paso Times has reported that Steve McQueen passed away peacefully in his slumber. His departure signified the end of a valiant struggle against pleural mesothelioma, a disease that had significantly impacted his health and had garnered media attention. McQueen's memorial service was officiated over by Leonard DeWitt, the pastor of the Ventura Missionary Church, who reflected the actor's spiritual journey during his final years. Upon his passing, McQueen was cremated and his ashes were dispersed throughout the Pacific Ocean. This allowed him to find his final resting place in the immense expanse of the sea that he had so frequently admired throughout his life. The departure of Steve McQueen signified the conclusion of an era in Hollywood and established an enduring legacy in the fields of film and entertainment. What are your thoughts on the tragic life of Steve McQueen? Please provide your feedback in the section below. We trust that you have found this video to be beneficial. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you find it enjoyable. I appreciate your attention and look forward to our upcoming videos. Goodbye.